to self-diagnose with conditions like autism, ADHD, and others without consulting a doctor first. Well, we have a doctor here, a real one. Dr. Jonathan Slater joins us now. He's a clinical professor of psychiatry at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Dr. Slater, thank you for being here. So first, let's talk about teens and where they are and why they're using social media, of all things, to self-diagnose. What are your warnings about that?
Well, you know, kids live in social media. They live in a social media world. They often get most of the information from social media and often in preference to getting it from doctors. And I think kids are learning about science, they're learning about biology, they're learning about themselves on social media. I think oftentimes they're looking to understand things. They want to find a sense of validation for who they are, and they're looking for a sense of community. And I think in the world today, there's so much fragmentation and tribalism that everyone's kind of in their own camps. And I think a lot of teenagers look into social media to find a sense of community and a sense of validation and oftentimes a sense of identity.
But what is sort of the danger in doing that, especially when it comes to something medical?
Right.
Yeah, there are dangers to it. I think, for one, you could diagnose yourself incorrectly, and you could pursue a treatment that's inappropriate. It could delay your entry into more conventional treatment where you really need to get help, and you could do more poorly, and you could organize your sense of identity around a specific diagnosis, which can be really limiting for a teenager, and not help them really learn how to cope with who they are, in the world in a more comprehensive way, say.
So that's the wrong way to do it, to self-diagnose based on social media videos. What's the right way to get this help if you need that care?
I think the right way to get it is to, find adults, whether it's school nurse, parents, or other access to mental health care. I mean, another thing that's challenging for teenagers today is they don't have instant access to mental health care. And that's a larger problem in our society, how to get kids into the mental health system. And in fact, most kids who are depressed don't even make their way into the mental health system. So I think, better screening, better routes for teenagers especially to find mental health providers, more services in schools, for example, with school psychologists, so that we can identify these kids and get them into good care.
Doctor, what is the power in a diagnosis? Because I think when you're talking about labels, there's a lot of parents who don't want to get their kids diagnosed because they are afraid it's going to limit their potential. And there are other people who say, wait, now my kid has community, and they feel free to have a name to what their symptoms are. Where do you sort of stand on that?
Well, I think a diagnosis is a start. It's a beginning for a treatment plan. But a diagnosis is a label, and it can be very limiting in that sense. And what I try to do with patients is develop a narrative which helps them understand themselves and plan a treatment for themselves that involves learning to understand themselves, learning how to cope with what's going on in their world and in their lives, and that they don't focus on simply a label. But in medicine, labels are the beginning, if you will, for treatment, but it can be very limiting.
Dr. John Slater, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your expertise.
And stay right there, folks. You are watching NBC News Daily.